The Kearney R-1 Board of Education, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Carly Bailey.
Here.
Brian Ham.
Here.
Dan Holloway. Tom Kern.
Here.
Bruce Weiser. Here. Susan Morman. Here. Mark Kelly.
Here. Quorum being present, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Move that the agenda be approved as presented. Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have public comments. I believe we have one speaker this evening. Michelle Dickerson. Sure. As you know, and I think you've been here before, but so everybody who's here watching the meeting, this is public comment. There won't be any responses from the board. The speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and the lack of response has nothing to do with our beliefs or our support for what the speaker has to say. This is their opportunity to address the board. So again, appreciate you coming.
Hello, my name is Michelle Dickerson. I had sent an email inquiring about an update on the mask discussion, but I haven't received a response, so I thought I'd talk about it tonight. Have you surveyed your teachers and administration to see where they stand on masks? How much of the staff would be open to masks being optional? Have you surveyed the parents of the district this year to see how many of us would be open to masks being optional? You are following what the Clay County Health Department recommends, and I'll remind you of the numbers. There are 257,124 residents in Clay County. In Kearney and Holtz, there are 12,184. We are 4.74% of Clay County. Kearney School District has less than 1% of staff and students with COVID. Once again, you're making decisions for our community based on a small percentage of Clay County. I understand a concern could be with the quarantine guidelines that Clay County has set forth. Are these just a guideline or are they mandated? I understand that our children need to be in school, but as parents, it's time for us to be the ones to make this decision. All last year, Northland Christian had their children wear masks in the hallway, but they could be removed when they're sitting at their desks. No different than going to a restaurant, although now there's no mask mandate, so it doesn't matter. Another concern could be if a child chooses to wear a mask, if that child could be picked on for their decision to do so. But it also goes the other way, because there could be a child that's chastised for choosing not to wear a mask. I don't believe that any kid should be made to feel bad for their family's decision regarding this issue. I don't believe it's necessary to create a committee or handle anything like this. Our policy should cover any type of misconduct within our school district, as long as it's actually followed. What is it going to take for us to actually do something? Surveying parents, teachers. Why not allow the kids to remove their masks while sitting at their desks? Why not have parents sign a liability form? Just to start somewhere. Please know that when I'm speaking up about this, it's on the behalf of other parents as well. Other parents that have children in the district that are concerned if they speak up that their kids could be made a target. I know for a fact many parents feel this way, which is another issue in itself. But to the parents and the staff of Kearney School District, if they aren't going to send out surveys for our input, I'm urging you to contact the superintendent and school board by email. You can find their email address on the school website under Board of Education. I'm not asking for there to be no masks. I'm simply asking for there to be an option for our kids to start to have some normalcy.
Next, we have recognitions. First, we have Kearney Elementary.
Very excited to share something that our students have been working on at Kearney Elementary. Gave 4 students the opportunity to take on a student newsletter for our school. Basically, we said, hey, what do you want to talk about here at Kearney Elementary? And they took an opportunity and ran with a product that just shocked us all and exceeded all expectations. One of the great things is that I haven't had to do much with it, and so I'm going to hand it over to these girls, and they're going to talk about it in a second. Come on up, girls.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm Madeline Melanie. I'm Angelina Gordon, and I'm Haley Weaver. We are the writers of our school newsletter. We are different levels of things we do. We start by brainstorming ideas and taking pictures of student work around the school. We all have different tasks to make the newsletter fun and interesting. Finally, we put together the layout and left the art. On one of the pages, I talk about one of my new staff named Miss Vickers. He's a kindergarten teacher here at Kearney. Every week we write editor's intro so readers get to know more about us. From newsletters in the past, I've been creating a Kearney sports article. The last few articles were about Kearney High School football. In the first newsletter, I wrote about student council and talked about the experience. We put up posters around the school with slip singing. We are trying to get more students to get their work in the newsletter. Thank you for listening to us. Do you have any questions?
What is your favorite thing about doing this newsletter?
Like around the school and testing. I really like it's kind of like in RTI, which is what you do in the morning, and you like have your own. I like the experience of writing creative stuff. I like to write.
Very cool.
I have another question. So I see that Greta got to do an interview. Was that a lot of fun to get to interview someone and come up with the questions?
Yeah. One of the nights I started thinking of different questions based on like what her history of the school is and some fun.
Awesome. You did a great job. I read some of your questions.
I got to share one funny thing. One night I was sitting at home on the couch and I get an email from one of these students, Greta. She says, "Hi, Mr. Masker. Please let me know when you have written your principal's intro. We're going to have this done tomorrow so we can have the newsletter out on Monday." So they're taking me a check for this and they've done an amazing job.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Certificate for you first. I think Angelina is first. Congratulations. Why don't you come right over here? Next we have Greta. All right, guys, girls, come on over here, gonna square up because they're gonna take a picture with a big K in the back.
Girl, maybe I should have you guys help me make sure that Dr. White gets this one. Check it out. Okay. Yeah, parents.
Hold on, girls, one more.
That's more.
This is important.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go. Open them up one more time. Scoot together just a little bit. There we go. Okay, everybody look.
There we go.
Okay, great job. Next, we have consent agenda.
Move that the consent agenda be approved as presented. Second.
All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Next, we have informational items. Patron survey results.
I think Rick Nobles is here. As you know, we have engaged Excellence K-12 to provide a survey in our community regarding pre-election survey results. And Rick is here tonight to present that report.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you giving me a few minutes on the agenda. Well, our project was to do a 300 complete call survey of registered voters in the Kearney School District. That would give us a margin of error of 5.6% to 95% confidence level. Just FYI, am I doing this? Oh, I was doing it. Okay. We use the same methodology that Gallup and Pew and the other firms use and have used for a long time. We start out by asking patrons to give the school district a grade on a variety of factors. You don't have to know a lot about the goings on inside the district to know whether or not you think the quality of facilities are good. For example, you can see here that your grades range from 3.92 to 4.44. It's among the highest grades that we have seen using this type of survey. It speaks to how happy the patrons have been with how you have been a steward of their money over the years. Next section is an open-ended question. We ask the strengths of the school district and areas for improvement. One of the few concerns that I had with this was that when asked the strength of the school district, the number one response was don't know. You want to see that when you ask for improvements that I don't know. But when you're asking for strength, you would like to see people say, for example, teachers, faculty, facilities, that type of thing. Might be worth considering a communications audit to see exactly where there's a gap between what you're communicating and what people are hearing. Areas for improvement, don't know at 115, followed by no response at good fine, which is great. These are without patrons' likelihood to vote on a no tax increase bond election in 2022. As you can see, 84% said that they are likely to vote. If that happens, it'll be the single largest turnout in the history of small town elections. But it does speak to the passion that people feel. Today, when asked, they'll tell you that they would, want to get out and vote to support the school. Level of support for the project ideas is immediate survey. And I guess the flagship project was the proposed new elementary school. More likely to vote in favor at 50%, likely to vote against at 21%, and make no difference in the decision at 28%. I will tell you from experience that when people say it would make no difference, that is a kinder way of saying I don't know. So those are the votes that are in play, if you will. 28%, it's a pretty good number there. You've got 50% already, so you don't need to move that many people out of undecided into decided on that one. Promoting equity across the district, resounding at 73%. Moving the library to the first floor, a good number at 62%. Annual restrooms and deferred maintenance, HVAC, et cetera, at Kearney Middle School, 54%. Now we'll get into some of the, what I term ancillary areas, upgrades to Kearney High School, performing arts center, including lighting, sound system, et cetera. There are usually 4 or 5 things that are likely to not be accepted by patrons. Performing arts centers, pools, turf, those types of things. And you've got a couple of them. Upgraded baseball, softball fields, the artificial turf is next, 45%. And of course, anytime you mention football, you'll have people say we already spend enough on football. So you're 41% with the concession stands, and then back up to The early childhood expansion at 66%. We then asked patrons for a kind of a vote of confidence or a leap of faith, if you will, by saying, if some of these issues were on a no tax increase, how would you vote? And you can see there that 69% support that. And that is a good number. You're only at 23% opposed. I will tell you, every school district that I've worked with, 15 to 20% of the people are opposed to everything. We call them cave dwellers, CAVE, citizens against virtually everything. So it doesn't surprise me that you're 23% there. Only 8% strongly oppose it, only 1% don't know. We then ask people where they get their information about the district. And again, I don't receive anything, was number one. Again, our communications audit probably makes sense for you. Both the newsletter, mail, 20%, student, school, etc. How often do you read information about the district? Those are pretty good numbers, especially compared to the fact that people say, I don't see anything about it. So it's pretty good numbers there. And I know I went through that fairly rapidly. I assume people aren't as geeky as I am about research, so I tend to take some shortcuts. But if I can answer any questions for you, I'd be happy to do.
So you guys clearly contacted the 300 people then? Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't like
300 complete.
complete. That's why I just want to.
We contacted about 2,000 to get 300 complete.
Okay, 300. Excellent.
Did I understand you say, I mean, as these type of surveys go, this was very positive on behalf of our district.
Absolutely.
Historically, we see these numbers play out.
Amazingly. Yeah.
With us doing this survey this early before, an April, potential April bond issue, do you think that this is early, or do you think that these statistics could possibly play out?
I think the statistics will play out. There are things that can affect something like national politics and things like that, but everyone that we work with on surveys, we do 6 months out. So we do April for November and vice versa. I don't think you'll have a problem matching those results. 6 to 9 months is the shelf life of this type of survey.
Okay.
So unless something egregious and unforeseen happens, you should be in very good shape.
Does any of the data point to you? I'm sorry, one place, but did any of the data point out to you, like stand out to you that was surprising in your results? Because you said you kind of geek out on stats. So
The only thing that was a little surprising to me was that there wasn't more support for the elementary school. Typically, when you talk about building a new elementary school, patrons are behind that. It's a growth signal. It means, your community is growing really well, and it's little kids. You always get excited about that. So the new elementary at 50% was a little surprising to me.
What do you think is so normal?
Uh,
What do you think is normal?
Probably 66, 2/3. And, it could be a couple of things there. You're talking about a part of town that is less familiar to a lot of people. They may see that part of town as being not developed enough right now for that. So you got some education to do. You can't, that's all it is.
Did you tell us how many of the individuals who were surveyed had children in the district?
It's all in your, we sent you a link for a dashboard, and all that information is in there. I don't remember offhand.
Okay.
This is my third or 3 this week. I'm a little, but you can find it on the dashboard.
Okay.
And segregate the data however you want to.
Appreciate you coming. We appreciate your survey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Next we have financial. Gender. Anyone have questions of gender about them? Looks like things are going well. Our resources have done well. The reserves, yeah. Next, we have COVID update.
Sure. Let me just say that I think that as we go forward, this should be a standing opportunity for the district to provide you with information regarding where we are and what we're seeing in our schools, as well as give you the opportunity to discuss and ask questions. Obviously, we all yearn for a level of normalcy. I know I do. And with respect to masks, that seems to symbolize this in many ways. Personally, I grow weary of wearing masks, but I think what the information that you'll see here tonight is that it is having an effect. I want to remind us that the primary goal that we had this year was to ensure that we had students and staff in school as much as possible. We know what the experience was last year in terms of its inconsistency and just feeling our way through that process. And certainly the year or the quarter prior to that was totally all virtual and a new experience for everybody. So the importance is to make sure that we have kids in front of teachers as much as possible. Next month, Jennifer will provide you with information regarding our student achievement, and you will see that the inconsistent nature in which our students and staff attended school, either by design or because of quarantines, has made a significant impact. So more and more need for us to make sure that we're attending school as much as possible. I just want to remind us about the return to learn plan that we have in place currently. As you know, it's for indoor universal masking of all students, staff, and visitors. And honestly, when that approach was provided to you, I will admit freely that it was more theory than it was an understanding of actually what we would follow. But since the 13 weeks that we've been in school, we now have some data that we can preview. And so I wanted to show you our dashboard that is available on our website. And you can see it goes all the way back to, I believe that's March, is it March 20 or April 2020? So, and all the way up through currently today. And so you can see when we began school in August that we had a fairly significant increase. And then it subsided. We've had a couple of spikes, and as you can see, we're kind of currently in another uptick. We currently have 23 students that are isolated, which means that they are positive with COVID. That has resulted in 67 quarantines of students that were close contacts. And really what that means is that the mitigation factor of wearing a mask was not done properly. We have 4 staff that are currently isolated with COVID as well. Up at the top, you can see the ongoing numbers. We've got 518 recovered, 553 positive patients cumulatively, and nearing 4,000 quarantines since this pandemic began. Scroll down. You would also be able to see the individual buildings. Again, current data. So you can see at Dogwood Elementary, we currently have 5 isolated, 15 quarantined, 11 at the middle school, with 10 being quarantined, et cetera, et cetera. You also see on the right-hand side, which is an important factor for us to take a look at, is non-school versus in-school. And this is because of the contract tracing that Dr. Morrison, David out at the high school, our school nurses and the like go through a fairly extensive process of close contacts, looking at film and all sorts of things to determine this. And so we currently have 35 of these current cases that originated outside of our school, where we have 16 that originated in, with 1 being a school activity, being a sport-related activity or an extracurricular activity. We can go to page 2. So I mentioned to you earlier that we have some understanding about the effect of the mitigation strategy of masks and how it's impacting our goal to make sure that we have kids and staff in school as less as possible. And so on the left-hand side, you'll see students not required to quarantine due to masking or vaccination. On the right-hand side, it's staff. So let's stay on the left-hand side. So you see all of the buildings there. Obviously, we have more people wearing masks than we have students vaccinated at this point. So that number is honestly going to be higher. But if you just take the number of students on that side, 1,452, you simply say that's the number of students. That's not a staff included. It's on the other side. So that's the number of students. We average about 6.5 hours of instruction every day. And if we take what I would call a very conservative number of 7 days of quarantine, you're looking at over 66,000 hours of instruction. That was not lost, but rather held to or saved because we had students wearing masks. Staff on the other side, you'll see that we again have a stronger component of masking that is saving people from quarantine that are considered close contact than vaccination. So, and this data is available. We continue to watch it. Quite honestly, it's the first thing that I do every morning is I take a look at where we are and ensuring that we're continuing to do this as we can. You'll mention a couple of weeks ago, I began providing you with some more detailed information regarding this. And I just want to let you know that over the past 2 weeks, we've seen an increase in the number of cases. But what's also been an increase is that in the last 2 weeks, we've had nearly 192 close contacts that did not have to quarantine because they were wearing masks. At the same period of time, we've had 10 close contacts that did not have to quarantine because they were vaccinated. So it's working. It's undeniable that we're meeting our goal in terms of ensuring that kids and staff are in school and able to do that. We know that there are some boards of education that have approved removing masks. Both of our neighbors at this point, Smithville as well as Excelsior Springs, others in the Kansas City region. If you look at Smithville's website today, you'll see that they have met the criteria that their board established 8 days in to their plan of taking masks off. I talked to their superintendent today, and 4 of their 5 buildings are back in masks. That could be by the end of the week, 5 of 5 in their district offices. So again, once you take a mitigating factor away from this disease, this virus, it continues to grow all the people, and with the quarantines that are required, it will actually keep people out of work and.
What was the date that Smithville started mask off?
I'm going to say the first of the month.
First
I
of
don't
the
know
month.
if the exact date
Yeah.
is around the first.
4 out of 5 buildings back in? Is that
Correct. Correct, as of today.
Okay.
Plus the district office. And the way their gating criteria is set up, they go in for 2 weeks and then reevaluate. So essentially with the Thanksgiving break coming, they will be in masks and finish the first semester. Excelsior Springs is in day 3, so they really don't have much data to demonstrate. But I think it's important that we continue to watch and monitor, and I will continue to talk to my colleagues, both neighbors, but also around the state. We know that there are other people in our region. The Blue Springs was one that announced earlier this week that they're doing that as well. So we'll have an opportunity to see that. I also want to recognize that in our community, there is, I believe, only the school district is the only public venue that is requiring masks. The point I want to make here is we are also the only public venue that puts hundreds, if not thousands of people in close proximity for 6.5 to 8 hours a day. And if our goal is to make sure that those people show up and are able to do their jobs of learning and teaching, then the mitigation strategies that we have in place will work.
So to the point of your quarantines, Clay County's quarantine guidelines kind of set this in place as far as, why is Smithville back to all in masks or all on the verge of that? Would be because of the quarantine process, not necessarily because of the process in which they put together. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes.
It's a mandate to quarantine in this
Quarantine.
way, is that correct?
So it's a recommendation, but basically your hands are tied for your mitigation strategy of keeping kids in school, pointing north of keeping kids in school until those quarantine rules change. At the county level, we're handcuffed.
No, that was going to be my exact next statement, is that in conclusion of all this, unless or until quarantine mandates change, I see no better way for us to achieve our goal. And I'm not blaming anybody for that, but this is not about being required to wear masks. It's more about being required to quarantine either by close contact or by contact. And I think our data is supporting the fact that we're meeting our goal as best we can. I've been asked frequently, what is our process for stepping down out of this process? And so what I want to end with is this, is that initially in that first document that I provided you on August the 10th, I put in there that the board should revisit this and the county numbers for the rate of positivity per 100,000. And Ryan, if you want to pull that up, go to less than 49. That's the yellow status. It's the one up there right now that says overall rating high, and then the next one has 107 cases. It's that number. When it goes to 49 or less for 3 consecutive weeks, then I think that you can suggest that it's more than a trend. Excuse me, it's more than a blur. It is a trend, and then you can take a look at what would be the plausible opportunity to remove mitigation strategies at that point. So that's my report.
Anyone have questions, comments further about that?
I just think it's really important that we continue to receive this information every month and all of the updates. And as we talked about in a previous topic, do everything we can to make sure we're communicating it out to our constituencies. We rarely get accused of over communication. So the more that we can do to communicate with all of our folks, I think is really important.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody who's at the board meeting wearing masks. Masks are required to be over your nose and over your mouth. If you can't, then we'll ask you to leave. There's 2 in the audience. You know who you are. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the audit report. Brian Eckhoff from Westbrook and Company. Come up and talk to us, please.
Good evening.
Hold on, seriously, please. If not, we have the police officers. We don't want to go that far. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Brian Eckhoff with Westbrook & Company. We recently completed your audit. I met with the audit committee earlier this week, and we went through the audit in detail. I'm going to do a brief overview of the financial statements. If you have questions, you can stop me as we're going through so that we can address those. The audit was a little different this year with everything that's kind of gone on. We did additional testing on attendance, given the hybrid and virtual models and things like that that did occur. And then we also had to look at internal controls as well this year because of changing in processes and procedures when people were virtually or working from home, things like that. So Ginger will attest to it that we kind of did a lot of analysis this year and a lot of additional work that in prior years we didn't have to do given the situation. So there we go. Okay, so page 2 at the top of the page has the opinion paragraph, and you can see that it says the financial statements were presented fairly. So this is a clean audit opinion, so exactly what you want to see in your financial statements. The next page is the statement of activities. It's kind of a different financial statement because it has your expenditures down the left-hand side, offset with revenues through the middle of the page, showing a net cost of doing those activities down the right-hand column. The two items we usually bring to your attention are food service and community services. Usually districts would like to know the cost of doing business of those two activities. Food service this year had about $100,000 loss. That's the cost of the food service. That is significantly less than last year. With the 100% free this year, it actually helped your bottom line on the food service side. And then your community services was about a $309,000 cost, which is real consistent with the prior year. Page 12 is your balance sheet. You can see that we had $18 million in assets as of June 30th. Between the three funds, your special revenue fund, standard practice in school districts is to take that to a zero balance. So there is a zero balance in your special revenue fund. You can see at the bottom of the page, various fund balances. Those are allocated back in the footnotes on page 23. The general fund, you have about $640,000 worth of student activities. That's clubs, organizations, athletics, things like that. Those balances carry over every year, and that's the balance that is assigned to those activities. And then you also are in charge of the children's services grant, and there's about $198,000 that's left over from June 30th of 21 that will be carried over to next year that will be continued to be spent. The remaining balance in the general fund is always shown as unassigned. It's about $10 million. So that is the amount for the district for day-to-day operations and running the district. Your debt service fund is always shown as restricted. Those funds can only be used for debt service. And capital projects, we had a few projects ongoing as of June 30th, about $240,000 that you guys had approved prior to June 30th, but had not been paid out. And then the remaining balance in the capital projects fund is always shown as assigned for future capital projects. This is a statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance. You can see the district has 46 million in revenues, and about 43, almost 44 million in expenditures. So your net change in fund balance was an increase of 2.3. You can see the general fund was about 1.9. You did make an $800,000 transfer over the capital projects fund. Additionally, you will see that your debt service fund is going to start increasing over the next couple of years because there's a balloon payment coming up in about 3 or 4 years. So that fund balance will start to increase with your levy. Should take care of it. This is a summary of your debt. As of June 30th, we had about $36 million outstanding in debt between bonds and direct borrowings, which are technology leases and things like that. About 3.1 is due in the current year. This is all of the maturities for the bonds, and you can see in 2025, we had that balloon payment coming up of $7.3 million. So your debt service will take care of that. Just know it is coming. And this is the future payments on your direct borrowings through 2030. And those items are given based upon obviously not having any refunding. And then 5-year comparison for revenues. As you can see, our revenues are increased this year. It doesn't look that significant on the chart, but your federal revenues went from 4% to 7% of your total. They actually almost doubled. So your federal revenues last year were about 1.6, and this year they're over $3 million. So required additional audit work in the federal program side of things due to the amount of federal dollars you guys did receive this year. This is a 5-year comparison of expenditures. You can see expenditures went from 46 million to 43 million. However, it's all explained on the capital outlay line. Capital outlay last year was 4.2, and this year it's only 600,000. So all in all, if you look at your actual salaries and benefits, they did increase this year. And the percentage actually increased up to 77% of your total expenditures.
Is that pretty average for our peer group to be right around that 76-77% range or?
Yeah,
or we're on the high
77
side?
right in the middle of it. I've got anybody from 75 to 79.
Okay.
This is a 5-year comparison of your reserve ratio as well as your average daily attendance. Reserve ratio this year came in at 29.55%. So we consider this a healthy, financially stable school district. And then average daily attendance, you can see on the chart, we did take a dip in average daily attendance this year. I've experienced this at 99% of my school districts this year. Given cutting of summer school the prior year, that caused a decrease. When you went to virtual courses, you're only allowed to have 94% attendance, even if they're 100%. That caused a decrease. There were several factors that went into this. Just keep an eye on it, monitor it, make sure our average daily attendance goes back up in the future. If it doesn't, obviously, we will have to make adjustments going forward.
Was our percentage down on that pretty, pretty average? Like you said, you sell it everywhere, but the percentage that we have down, is that consistent?
Yours actually isn't as down as much as I've seen at other schools. So yes, relatively speaking, yes, it's consistent with other districts. I've got other districts that had significant decreases. Depending upon how you handle summer school was a big driver. If you cut it back or if you eliminated it completely, that was a big driver on how much decrease there was.
Okay.
While we're here, we look at state laws and state statutes, compliance issues, things like that. If we come across anything, we'll bring it to your attention. You can see here it says they are fairly stated. So this means that there were no state findings this year. So another good report for clean opinion, exactly what you want to see. We look at internal control during the audit. We do not give an opinion on internal control. However, we do bring any deficiencies to your attention. And actually, we looked at internal control in depth this year, given the COVID situation with people working from home and virtually and things like that. A lot of districts had instances where internal controls kind of went out the door so that we can continue to get the bills paid and things like that. Happy to report we did not have that situation here. We did not identify any deficiencies in internal control. Lastly, we look at federal programs. You all have a single audit because you have more than $750,000 worth of federal expenditures. During the single audit, we looked at the Coronavirus Relief Fund and the Education Stabilization Fund. So those are the two areas where we spent the majority of our time. Those are the two major programs. We had no findings, no recommendations, no comments on those. So this is exactly what you want to see, where the box is marked no all the way down. Unmodified is clean opinion or good audit report. So exactly what you want to see. And then at the very bottom where it says you qualify as a low risk, uniform guidance was written for accrual basis financial statements, not cash basis financial statements. So you will never qualify as a low risk auditee. It basically means that we have to audit a higher percentage of your federal programs. 99% of the school districts in the state of Missouri are cash basis. So I'm not saying change to accrual basis, say cash basis financial statements. Just know that we will have to audit a higher percentage every year. And as I said, we had no federal findings, no federal comments. Also in your packet is the required communications. This is where if we have small items we come across, we bring it to your attention. And we have two this year. The first one came from the state auditor, released Marshall's state audit here recently, about a month, 2 months ago. And in that, she actually indicated there was extra duty stipends that were paid out that were not on the salary schedules. So we have started asking all of our districts if every single payroll item that goes through the district is on a schedule. And you guys have 3 or 4 that we came across that were not actually on a schedule. They were board approved. They did go through the approval process. There's just no actual salary schedule that goes with it. So the amounts were all approved, the amounts all reconciled to contracts, things like that. There's just no salary schedule supporting that documentation. So our recommendation is we get all payroll items on some sort of salary schedule. And then the second one, you recently purchased a property at 425 Washington. When that was purchased, it was purchased at a bargain price and there was no appraisal performed. We always recommend that appraisals are completed when purchasing real estate. So in the future, we recommend you get an appraisal on any real estate that's purchased. All in all, clean audit, good audit report. Ginger and the staff did a phenomenal job. Just a couple of items that we have, that we could make a couple improvements on.
Thank you, Ginger.
One last thing, you should note that I don't have a lot of districts this year that I haven't made journal entries on. I didn't make any journal entries here. It's not very common this year with the federal programs and the reporting of federal programs. So kudos to Ginger and the staff for coding everything correctly and doing a research to figure out how to code everything.
So here is my question for Ginger when we did the financial update. I get to circle back. So we did see an uptick in federal funds of we went from 4 to 7%. What is that tied to, or what is the reason that we saw that uptick on the federal funds?
It was money to pay the things that we normally would pay for, like we paid for KSD Connect.
Okay.
We paid for fully custodial jobs because we could not get substitute.
Did we file for that money, or was it based on per how many kids we had?
Well, there was a rhyme or reason. So it's based on the
Part of it's from the city also.
Yeah, it depends on which.
So it has nothing to do with our attendance. It has everything to do with, we had certain funds that basically helped us pay for KSD Connect and all those things. Okay.
And technology, technology, the county gave us some of their money.
Right.
That's quite a bit.
See where I'm going with this. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands where that money came from and not what it's based on. It's not based on attendance, it was based on our kids in our district, it was based on the KSD Connect and the different things that we need.
Big picture.
Big picture. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate your remarks regarding to our financials. Commend Ginger and her staff for accomplishing that.
Well,
I do appreciate you recognizing that the building that we bought for $1 million, as you noted, at a bargain basement price. So we could have spent $10,000 to have somebody tell us.
I've got the documentation on it if anybody needs to see it.
We could have asked our board member, who is a real estate agent locally, for their input on that. So those are not things, and whether we call it a criticism, that's a criticism I'll take every day.
Yeah.
Save money.
Okay,
I'll say that.
So-
Yeah.
but I appreciate you recognizing it,
Thanks, Brian.
pointing it out. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Next we have.
We have to move to approve the audit.
I'm sorry.
Move to approve the audit report as presented by Westbrook and Company.
So,
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have approval of yearbook provided.
I can. It appears that we have done a good job. I'm reading Karen's notes in here to you regarding this and the 1-year quotes versus the 3-year quotes that are in there. Based upon those inquiries, we're recommending that Walsworth be the high school yearbook provider for a 3-year agreement.
in turn, also, if you read the notes, she also states that they're a local Missouri business, where the other ones are not. And so to support local, she thought it would be a good opportunity for us as a district to support local.
And I just dealt with them 2 nights ago, and they helped me.
Walsworth,
Yeah, because they asked us. So
We've had them for some time. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've had them for
Yeah,
some time,
Absolutely.
but they were-
we know.
easy to work with, yeah.
absolutely. I was, giving a little extra notes of what I read from her update on that. Was local meant something.
Entertain a motion to move.
Move to approve Wellsworth as high school yearbook provider for a 3-year agreement beginning with the 2022 and 2023 school year as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have approval of the Latin system. Ms. Copper, you want to talk to us? All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about a proposal to change to the Latin honor system. Right now for graduation, right now our current recognition, we recognize students that are ranked according to distinction point grade point average. The student with the highest distinction point grade point average is ranked first and designated valedictorian, second designated salutatorian. They can have multiple salutatorians. Last year we actually had 4 salutatorians. Students are then designated top 10%, top 5%, 10%, and 20% based on those recognitions. When at graduation, we actually recognize the top 10% when they stand up. We call their name. They get distinction points by taking advanced placement, AP courses, or dual recognitions. That's how you get distinction points.
So we are proposing to shift to the Latin system, and this system would recognize students at graduation designated by their grade point average, which would be 3 categories. The first one being summa cum laude, which would be a grade point average of 4.0 and above. The next one would be magna cum laude, which is 3.75 to 3.99. And cum laude is 3.50 to 3.74. By doing this, the system would allow students the flexibility to pursue more their individual interests rather than spending their time chasing a higher grade point average just to get to that class rank, a higher class rank. One of our district goals is to increase our real world learning or authentic learning experiences. And this system allows kids to pursue more of those opportunities.
So some advantages to moving to the Latin system, like Jennifer just said, we are working with Kaufman with the Real World Learning Initiative. And this moving to this system allows our students to take more of those experiences while they're in high school. Not only that, but it mimics the college graduation system, helps students become familiar with that. Again, the students get more options with their schedules. So instead of that student who's just, not all our kids are different, right? We can all recognize that. It's not what every one of our kids is going to do. But we have a lot of talented kids in other realms that with this move to this system, they would have more opportunities to go and explore those realms and not worry just concentrating just on that college path. Examples that we have right now, Project Lead the Way, Basic Tech, we have the CAP system, the Northwest CAP system. We're working with Kearney businesses to promote more local Kearney internships. Stacey Holtzball is doing a wonderful job with that right now. We're getting more businesses involved. The main goal is to give students options, to no longer force them to choose between that college path if that's not something they're wanting to do, or if they are wanting to do that college path, enhance their resume by having these real world learning opportunities instead of just those academic courses that they might not need for a major, just to give them distinctions point right.
Okay, Ken, I just wanted to kind of give an example of how sometimes our current system really does fail students. So if you look at this student A's, their schedule, this is a tough schedule with chemistry, college prep English, trigonometry, business law, computer science, statistics, and psychology. This student got straight A's, ended up with a 4.07. Chemistry is one of the toughest classes we have. Only 25% of our students end up in the A range in chemistry. Trigonometry is another one. Honestly, we had a good percent. It's not a very large class anyway, because only the highest, those high tier kids, those real math kids take that, and we still had a high percentage of the kids who dropped the class, and then we still only had 50% finish with an A in the class. So then we go to student B, college prep English, college psych, PE, ceramics, AP Gov, photography, and office practicum. This student, very well, this could be an example of a student who is chasing that class rank, that higher GPA so they can get a higher class rank. I will tell you, college psychology, we had a 75% of those kids, and it's a class that a lot of kids have taken, and 75% of them get an A in there, and they get distinction points for it. AP Gov, 67% of our kids get an A in that. So kids, I mean, this is truly an easier path than what this is. This student ended up with a 4.214, made top 10%. This one, 4.07, did not make top 10%, but both of these students would be recognized at that highest Latin system honor because they're both over that 4.0. This student could take what they really felt like they needed to take and still get that highest honor without worrying about whether they're going to get enough points to beat this kid.
So some considerations of non-ranking. A lot of colleges, universities, admissions offices are no longer considering rank. It's not consistent, right? The education you get in Kearney might be different than the education you get in the rural or the urban area. High schools can have significant differences in curricular expectations, which invalidates class rank. Many private and competitive schools are governed rank because they find it penalizes students who are active and strong, but barely out of that top 10%. And we see this at Kearney High School. Rank can sometimes create an unhealthy level of competition, stifles collaboration between students, and even takes our kids to things that they normally wouldn't do.
We have kids that go in and try to get another student's schedule so they know if they're taking more distinction point classes, to know if they need to take another distinction point class. I mean, and it might not even be something that that student needs, but they just want that class rank, whether they have an interest in that area or not. They're going to take it just to chase the class rank.
It's not about what I'm doing individually, it's about also what somebody else is doing, where you're worried about somebody else instead of worrying about yourself.
You know, our students will know all along what the goal is for them. That if their goal is to get cum laude, they know the entire time that they are trying to hit that 3.50, and what do they need to get over that hump. And, you know, and we're still going to have those high flyers, those same kids who are our top 10%, they're still going to be at that highest level of recognition. This just gives more opportunity and more incentive for, you know, everyone to really chase their dreams.
Jennifer and I were laughing earlier today, just about kids in our own household, right? I mean, I got one who 3.5, she comes home, she got a B on the test, she's like, "Dad, I got a B on the test." Good job, right? And my other kid, he'd be devastated, right? But in this point of view, I mean, you got a kid who they know they're shooting for that 3.5, that's what they're shooting for. You got another kid who's shooting for that 4.0, that's what they're shooting for, and they have that goal where it doesn't matter what anybody else does, you know, what matters what they do to attain that goal. And we all know that we sit here and life happens, right? Life happens to our kids, and all of a sudden they have a really bad semester. Something happens in their life. With moving to this system, it doesn't derail them. Right? With that class rank system, they have a bad semester. All of a sudden, their goal, it's very hard to reach. I'm not saying they can't reach it, very difficult. With this, they can still adjust that goal if they're looking for, make it that goal.
Hey, Andy, what about the colleges that want a class rank or are going to require that?
Jennifer's gonna hit
And
that
we're
right now.
getting to that.
Okay.
You know, the other thing, I think that this really recognizes work ethic, because some kids they will work their tails off to get to that 3.5, and that might be the very best that student can do, and they can still get recognized. 3.5, that's tough. That is good. Somebody can get a 3.5, that is good. I would be very surprised if we do not see our overall GPA average go up because kids are motivated to shoot for these goals. So to answer John's question, we looked into some post-secondary education institutions and what they are asking for. And so these are places that a lot of our kids go to. So first we had, I don't know the wrong one. Yeah, Mizzou is that, they do, there is a table that some of the schools use, and it's like, if your GPA is here, then you need a class rank of this, and it, combines all of this. So Mizzou has two different tables. For high schools who do recognize class rank, they have a table for that, and they do say that if you do not have class rank, it does not penalize you at all. They don't take class rank into consideration on that. At UCM, if your school doesn't do class rank, then they just use your GPA. And they say students with a 3.25 cumulative or higher will be admitted without that ACT score as well. Missouri State is a combination of GPA and test score. There is no class rank considered. And then Northwest also does the two different tables, one for for schools who have class rank and the other one for schools who do not have class rank. And then we did have parents question maybe other institutions that they felt were more rigorous. So we looked into those as well. A lot of these, they are looking at more of a holistic approach. They want to know all about what the kids are doing. They want to know what activities they were involved in, what leadership opportunities they took. How did they serve their community? How did they serve their school community? What are their talents? What are their passions? They want to know all about it. Some of them, they look at essays. They want the students to write essays. Others, they want recommendations from Korea teachers or counselors. So here's some of these. William Jewell, their admission essay, they say that is critical in their decision. They do not require class rank. We looked at Yale. They said class rank and GPA are both optional. They more look at test score and that holistic approach. What else have you done? Harvard does not consider class rank at all. And then Brown, class rank and GPA again are optional. They really look, they want to see those letters of recommendation, and they do like to see a test score. We also looked a lot at scholarships, and we have found that the scholarships are kind of running the same way as the admission process is. So when we looked at, we found this chart online, and this is the percentage of colleges that say these items are they consider them to be considerably important. And if you look at 2007, 23% of post-secondary institutions considered class rank a considerable factor in admissions. And then by 2018, it's down to 9%. We couldn't find anything more recent, but I honestly could not find a college that says you have to have class rank. Okay, so that is, we're going to move on to the tiered diploma section, but that is our part for the Latin system. So before we go on to tiered diploma, do you have questions about the Latin system?
So the Latin system rolled right over to this diploma. I mean, you got one, it's just gonna roll right over to the lead. You'll see kind of what we're thinking.
They're different but connected.
You had said that you thought that the Army was the only
West Point and the Naval Academy.
Yes, the military academies are the only thing, and honestly, I didn't find that. Blue Springs has had this system for quite some time, and the superintendent who is there now, she told me that that is the only thing that they have run into is the military academies.
But that information will still be available, correct?
If a
Calls.
student has to have it, we can figure it, and that would not take any time. We would never want a student to miss an opportunity because they didn't have that.
What percentage of our area schools use the LAP system, do you know?
Well, they're slowly rolling over. Liberty has changed over. Platte County does it. Smithville does it. As real world learning is picking up steam across the area, there's now 31 schools participating in that Kaufman initiative. And as that is picking up steam, more and more schools are going to this system, because this system really, it helps kids to be able to, it allows them and encourages them to pursue their passions instead of a classroom. Any other questions on that?
All right, so currently, we have two different types of diplomas. We have a general diploma, which is that's required, right? This is what they tell you have to have a college for 24 credits. And then we have a college prep certificate, which is 25 credits. And the reason why we did this college prep certificate mostly is to fit in so that you can get into the University of Missouri. The University of Missouri requires you to have 2 consecutive foreign languages. So the college prep certificate basically says, if you complete this college prep certificate, you can get into the university.
Okay, so we are wanting to embed our real world learning or our market value assets that we'll talk about a little bit later, but market value assets into our diplomas. We want to acknowledge both those kids who are on the college path as well as going straight into the workforce. And this allows them to do that. We want to showcase their academic skills as well as their market value assets. So we're proposing to move to a tiered system diploma. Our purple seal would require 24 credits as well as 1 market value asset. And reminding you that one of our goals is that every student by the year, the graduating year of 2025, every student will graduate with an MBA. So we felt the best way to reach that goal, because we do feel it is very important, is to tie it to our diploma. So the purple seal with 24 credits, and that again is the DUSI base standard. And 1 MBA. The gold seal would require 25.5 credits, and again, 1 market value asset. And the platinum seal would require 28 credits and 2 market value assets.
So here you're looking at different options for what the diploma would look like. What you have on your left-hand side, that's your purple seal. This page right here pretty much doesn't change from what we currently have. Okay, this is pretty much everything that we currently have right now. The one thing that we would do with the platinum seal, we'll change that to having 4 different math credits instead of having 3. Everything else pretty much is the same with what we have right now. Go to the next slide. The biggest difference comes down into your elective credits. Okay, with the 24, the purple 24 hours credit, you're looking at 6.5 credits. With gold, you're looking at 8, and look at the platinum, you're looking at 9.5. Now, we're not designating what kids have to take with those electives, because what we want is we want those kids to take classes that they're interested in, right? So credits are embedded if they go to the Northland caps, if they go to the tech academies, you get embedded credits in there, which would be like some English, math credits in there, so that it still gives those kids those opportunities. But that elective credit would be those things they're really interested in. That's what they want to do when they graduate to a secondary institution.
we did have some people ask the question about, isn't 28 credits a lot? And if you think about it, I mean, at 4 years and 7 credits each year, that would be their 28. But kids have other opportunities to gain those credits. They can start gaining a couple credits in 8th grade, not a whole lot, but then there are also a lot of summer opportunities. And we know that as we start this, more students will take advantage of those summer opportunities. To be honest, we've offered a lot in the summer before, but there wasn't enough interest, so the classes didn't make. But we would love it if kids would sign up and start taking these summer classes. Also, we would encourage those kids to knock out some of these classes in the summer to open up their schedule that junior and senior year, so they can go out and do these internships and these client-based projects. But without, just historically speaking, you can look at the screen and see that in 2019, 50% of our kids had at least 28 credits. In 2020, 52%, and in 2021, 57% had that. So it's not like that is super tough to get.
Okay, so like Jennifer talked about, we are one of 31 districts that are working with Kaufman on the real world learning initiative. Part of that initiative is to pick up market value assets. What a market value asset is, we start talking about the holistic student. Okay, when kids can put on their resume that they have a market value asset, that adds to their holistic resume, right? They can go out and they can get an internship with different places. They can get an industry recognized credential. They can get college credit, science-based projects, and capstone classes. Okay, so we have some examples of internships. Like we said, we've already got Kearney internships rolling. We have some working with Ryan at a tech internship. We have kids out working with teachers in a teacher internship. Stacy Holtzclaw has kids out working with local businesses, local auto dealerships, doing different things. Kids also get internships through the Northland Caps area. We got kids going out all over there, medical field, even banks, all over the place like that. Like I said, talk about the career centers. Another one is our digital media internship, where we got Miss Johnson and Miss Carmack at the high school. We're starting to get kids out into the community that way as well. Our industry recognized credential. These are basically what you get through our college technology programs, the CTE programs, or the career centers. That's where you get your industry recognized credentials there. One that we're really pushing is in the biomedical field. Ms. Gabriel, now Ms. Lawrence, Ms. Gabriel's taking that over, and that's getting CNAs. Kid gets a CNA. Pretty much they can go to Children's Mercy. Children's Mercy, if they have their CNA, is looking to hire them on the spot, not only hire them on the spot, but they're also looking to put them through school to come back to the nursing. So these kids have these opportunities to do that. College credit. Again, if you know a kid and he is going to college, that is the path they're on. You can get an MBA on doing the college credit just by getting 9 hours. If you want that platinum and you don't want to do the internships, you don't want to go out, you are trying to get as many college credits as you can before you leave high school. If you come with 18 college credit hours, you hit your 2 MBAs. And we have lots of kids who are knocking out 18 college credit hours before they go. We're also talking about AP courses they can get, and then our early college program in Maplewood that we're working on, kids can get college credit that way. A really interesting kind of fun project. Mr. Baxter was here. He did a comment-based project last year with kids in our digital media class, where they actually designed, he wanted to spruce up Kearney Elementary, right? He wanted to get some
Decals.
Yeah, decals all over the wall, right? So he sent that to our kids and said, here's what we want to do. Here's what we need. He met with the kids, gave them parameters. The kids came to him, and he has decals all over his building right now that was developed by high school kids. And that's something Jennifer's looking at using a student with the client-based project to help her out with some research. So it's something that we think
just with the school district, that we can have kids get involved in this. Kaufman has certain things that they have to hit, like how many hours, an internship has to be at least 120 hours. Plant-based project, you're looking at 24 or more hours, where you actually have 4 of those hours are in direct contact with the client. And then we have capstone projects. We have our biomedical initiatives classes where they go down and present. Yeah, evening session, there you go. You also have the engineering one down there. You can also get that through like Eagle Scout. I have a Girl Scout project just coming to me, which also means capstone. She's doing a final project of a Girl Scout thing. Seal Bioliteracy is another one. And then we also have entrepreneurial experiences that they could pick up. A lot of our kids who are in our ag program have started their own businesses and doing fantastic with different things they're doing, so they can get a market value asset through the entrepreneurial experience as well.
Yeah, and the kiddos that are in the engineering, Project Lead the Way Engineering, they come up with some fabulous entrepreneurial projects. They are missing that piece of presenting their product and trying to sell their product, but man, those kids are coming up with some cool stuff. If they can just take it to that next level, that would be a great MBA for them.
A couple years ago, we had 2 kids who developed a gear system. It was kind of, it's like remote controls where you can go remote control around the tree. And they presented theirs at the station and had people come up saying, okay, all about that. So it's really cool stuff that kids can be involved in.
Any questions on the Latin system or the Yearbook?
Time frame again, of when they would go into place.
Right, so this year, we're on the old system, and then for 22-23 and 23-24, we would like to recognize both systems, so kids can still be recognized in that Latin system. And then the class of 2025 would be the first class that would be fully into the Latin system and Yearbook.
That would be the class that we're looking forward to have 100% of our kids.
Will the kids get to pick which system they for graduation? I mean, like, will they get to say, I want to do the Latin, or will they get to say,
On the transition year.
or will it be you're just going to do both and you get?
They'll be recognized as well.
They'll have, for the next couple of years, they're gonna have lots of color codes.
Right.
For different color regions, okay? You'll have your top 10%, you'll have your super money, you have a whole bunch of different codes on there.
Will that skew the kids then though that want that class rank? Does that not benefit them? I mean, just like if they're so hooked on that class rank.
Well, I
Is it
mean,
better
that's a
just to
great,
stay one
that's
or
a
the
great
other?
point, but there's some kids already too far into it that
Sure.
it almost wouldn't be fair to yank it away now, but, and it's really more for the kids who are going to be recognized under the Latin system. Those classes, kids who are a junior now and they're shooting for that class rank, we're not gonna slow them down at this point.
Sure.
And I've actually had more kids come up and tell me, man, I wish we had moved to this earlier. Because it would benefit them more than what that top 10% and the only recognized 2 or 3 out of 207 kids.
I just think for me, when I look at it, a school district A and there's 75 graduating seniors, and you have school B with 1,000 graduating seniors. How can you compare a valedictorian between those 2 schools as being working the same to get to that point? And I think that's where there's a disconnect for me. I also think when I think about, like, when I look at this, to want to be in the top 10% to be a valedictorian, that means moving target constantly. You can't actually set your target to achieve something. It's constantly shifting because you don't know where you fall. And that can be demotivating because you don't know if the work you're going to put in is going to result in an outcome. And so what I like about this is, that this is the benchmark that's going to get you to your reward. And that is much more motivating at this age category. Kind of like saying, you're going to get $100 to move this pile of wood. if you move it all, you're gonna get $100, or you might get $100 if you move all the wood, but I'm not gonna tell you how much money you're gonna get when you're done. Like, one is absolutely motivating because you build the target at the end, and the other one, some people are just like, I'm not gonna do that because I don't know what I'm gonna get out of it. So I like the fact that there are benchmarks, you achieve it, you get the reward, and that's.
The first thing that you mentioned about 1 out of 75, 1 out of 1,000. On a recent college visit with my daughter, that's why they said they moved away from it.
That's what.
Because there's no way to compare. They have, what does it tell them? Nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what they said, the reason they moved away from it.
And so what you're planning to transition or communicate to the kids as they move, that the other kids coming into this, that sort of thing. Because you know how they are, I mean, I should say, I know I have a couple kids, like Andy said, I have 2 kids that are like all over, better be up here, nothing below, and then I have one that'd be like, yeah, I'm back. You know, that sort of thing. And so, because those kids are gonna know early on how it works and how everything, you know, that sort of thing. So what's how the approach to the plan for communicating it to the younger kids moving into it?
Well, I think we communicate the heck out of it, both, you know, in person, through Ray. I think attaching MBAs to the diploma is huge because that makes it very real for kids. It's like, okay, I've got to have that. So now I know I have to get that. So they'll start asking more questions. Stacy Holtzclaw has done a great job going out and talking to the kids. And once this is approved, this will be part of what she's going to be talking to kids about. But we will want, you know, if this is approved, we will put together a communication plan to make sure students understand it and parents as well.
Use kind of baseline information now, and then once it's approved, if it's approved, and then full court press and give it out. Because we want those kids, especially the 2025, all right, what can I do not only the rest of my freshman year, what can I do my sophomore year, but I set myself up my junior year to be able to start working on college, it's internships, it's going through different career centers.
And obviously involved some of the parents, because some of them are probably more mindset about it than the kids are.
Anything else?
Appreciate your presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other discussion, questions? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve the shifting to Latin system and tier diploma system as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We have approval of adoption of board policy. Questions?
So House Bill 271 changed board elections in the state, the number of weeks that it's available. The way it falls this year, it begins on December the 7th, ends on December 28th. So it's really compressed as to what it's been in previous years. Normally, when your board policies are presented to you, they are presented in one month and they are adopted in another. We don't have time from getting them from MSBA in their final form to get it to you to have enough time for a first and a second reading, if you will. So we're asking you to approve on this first reading this evening. And then you'll see the next item on your agenda this evening is, should you consider and adopt this policy, then we can set the filing dates as prescribed.
So do we not approve this policy as second reading and next month it would be a single read? So it really would be a first reading, it would be an only read.
This is an only read. And we're somewhat mandated.
By law.
That's
Absolutely.
correct.
No, I'm not arguing that
Just
point.
saying-
Just
Yeah.
trying to make sure that
Okay.
wasn't coming up next board
That's right.
meeting.
No,
Yeah. Thank you.
I find it interesting, the timing of, you have to do this, and yeah.
right, we couldn't, we have to have a second board.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yes. Entertain motion.
Move to approve and adopt board policy BBB as presented.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have setting the filing dates for our school board election for April. Entertain a motion.
Move to authorize the publication of filing dates for board candidates for the April 5th, 2022 election as required by law to include the opening date of December 7th, 2021 at 8 a.m. and the closing date of December 28th, 2021 at 5 p.m. as official dates for accepting the declaration as a school board candidate. To designate the Kearney R-1 school district as administrative office at 150 West State Route 92, Kearney, Missouri, as location for filing. Further, that the times for filing will be between the office hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. weekdays, noting that filing location will close on December 17th, 2021 at 1 p.m. and remain closed until December 28th, 2021, when the administrative office will be open for filing from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and to name the county clerk of Clay County as election authority, that the secretary to the Board of Education be directed to notify the county clerk in writing by January 25th, 2022, and include a copy of the legal notice and sample ballot for the April 5th, 2022 election, and to direct the secretary to forward to the county clerk of Clay County and the county clerk of Clinton County deposits for the cost of the election as required by law. Filing will not occur when the district is closed for inclement weather. In the event the district is closed due to a COVID-related event, other than on December 7th of 2021, filing will be by appointment only and made by contacting the board secretary at 816-628-4116.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
And good job, Rick.
Yeah.
No, I just say, I don't know. That's what I'm probably- Yeah. So, we had interviews on November 3rd for our CMR. We had 3 excellent candidates. I see that 2 of the firms are represented tonight, Joel Smith and Dan Weekly here from Universal. John Novak, Ben Vanderu are here on behalf of Newkirk Novak. We also had a presentation by the J.E. Dunn Corporation. About half their company, if they were too large. But everybody made excellent presentations. There was some distinction in the percentages by each of them. They ranged. There was a low, a mid, and a high on that. 6 of the 7 of the board members were here for those interviews. I know we took points that night, analyzed that. I don't know if anybody else has any further thoughts, questions about that. I know that one of the proposals had modified their percentage as suggested in our discussion. With that said, I don't know, as I said, I don't think we could go wrong with any of the 3.
I think they all did exceptional job presenting what Kearney needs moving forward. I think that they gave us a tough decision, and I think that was the greatest thing. And I think that should be the greatest compliment to all of them, is that they gave us a tough decision. They all did extremely well.
I would say. I would comment that we only had one presenter who had some diversity in their presentation. I would ask that in the future, anybody who's coming, bring as much diversity and provide as much diversity to the district. We had that in our last project. I think that's important. Female as well as male students to see that. We hope that that would be something that the CMR would bear in mind whoever that is. Is there a motion?
Well, it's blank.
It's blank, that's correct. Is there a motion?
Yeah, you may go, you want
Yes.
to approve, Newkirk Novak as construction manager at risk as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
And it was gonna be Novak, Newkirk, or Newkirk, Novak. I know we had a discussion, but Novak's here, so I tried to give you a little credit.
Thank you. And appreciate you all coming. Final issue for the night is to approve or to consider and hopefully approve resolution for COVID leave days for the staff. Dr. White has provided that to us as part of our board. If anyone has questions?
Can we just, I mean, like, this is basically starts second semester, right? It's adopted for second semester, it's not for this year.
It's retroactive for the year, July 1.
To
Yeah.
July 1 this last year,
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
retro,
That's
yeah,
right. So no one's being treated differently.
exactly.
That was my concern. That's why I wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
full school calendar year, fiscal year, excuse me.
July 1
Yeah.
of 2021 to 6/30 of 2022.
Okay, then I'm okay with that. That helps.
Will they see this on their, how will they be informed if it's given back to them?
So we'll make an announcement to staff. I've met with the teacher for two organizations a couple different times about this. and where we should have had more. So we're having it, and all staff know about that. So one thing we'll need to do, it'll take a little bit of time, payroll, to try to get back that. So I just asked that they get some patience, but we will be looking at the people.
But we know who those people are.
Yes, we have the, we have.
They will be contacted individually.
It just takes us a little bit of time to get through our.
Present documentation, yeah, it's like,
As well as-
it's reality, yeah. HR.
Brian, you have a question?
My only question would be like, for other qualifications, what if somebody not knowing that they were going to have to show qualification, don't retrospectively now have that qualification? Looking back, like what is gonna be the, having that look completely through, it's like, what are the qualifications? And what if somebody can't reach back and get that from
Well,
August?
in all those along there, we've asked them to give that documentation.
They've already given it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
We've
saying.
been collecting that all.
Yeah, no matter what, they would have to have that.
But
from
we
a health-
I just want to make sure we're not. gonna
care
go back and
standpoint,
exclude
yeah.
people because they don't, they.
No.
have to provide it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not entertain motion.
Move to approve the resolution for COVID leave days for staff as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We have board member comments. It was good. I think it was good to have the COVID update tonight. I think for the board, for our constituents, I think the explanation for why we have to have masks. If we're going to have kids in seats in our classrooms, and the numbers you put up are extremely important. And recognizing the effects of the regulations regarding quarantining if we don't wear masks. And you can look at the numbers compared to vaccination versus wearing masks and how that affects us. And certainly, we all want out of these things, so we can't wait. At the same time, our job is to teach kids, and we have to figure the best way to do that. Until we have better ways of mitigating, I think it's important that we follow. The majority of us voted to let our superintendent make this decision. You can see he is putting together a number of factors, and looking at it as we consider.
I think it's important to know too that on a weekly basis, Dr. White, I've spoken with you of numbers and options, and it's not, it is not being put under the rug by any means. I mean, it is in front of us, and we are addressing it and looking at it, and looking at all the options that we can. So.
I just appreciate the fact that we did it openly,
Yes.
publicly. I think that was something that we maybe missed in the last couple months. And so I'm glad that we brought that, I'm glad that you brought that in. I think it's a we, I think it's all 7, 8 of us that we brought that in and had that conversation. And obviously, you talked about steps on COVID. I mean, I think we just need to keep the dialogue. I think it's put your swords away and let's have a dialogue and a communication about how we get out of these things. And but at the same time, we want our north point north, which is kids in school. So I understand that. So I appreciate,
Yep, and we'll continue it. It's a dialogue.
I just want to say, as we move into the month of Thanksgiving, that sometimes I aren't always communicated with one another how what we're thankful for, but I had a patient the other day say, you know what, sometimes we, maybe 90-something, you got to give flowers to people when they're alive. And what he meant was that you got to give them to them while they're alive versus at their death. And so I just want to take time to thank each and every one of you guys for being here. We may not always hear that generally from the public, but as people and families and things we do in our daily lives, we all stay busy, and it's important to appreciate one another. So thank all of you guys. Thank you.
I just want to say, in the last 18 months of sitting on this board, there's been a lot that's gone on. I think there's been a lot that has taken our attention away from the root of why we're all here and why this district exists. I never want to forget the real reason, which is to educate our children. My son was at that pivotal age of reading when all the COVID stuff really started. It really disrupted his ability to learn to read consistently, and we've been working with him. But I cannot give enough credit to the staff at Kearney Elementary, how quickly from the beginning of the year till now they have moved forward in reading. And it just speaks volumes to really how great our district really is, and they're really the reason why we're all here. And so I just want to always start taking time to look at the positive, because we can really overshadow those, and they're there all the time. And if you look for them, they're all around us in this district.
Not lost one of those short kids that came in for recognition. We've had that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was the
think I've
worst part
smiled
of the
like that in a
virtual.
long time.
When we were doing everything virtual, that was the worst part.
Thank you all for your time. Important dates, November 24th through 26th, no school, Thanksgiving break. December 1st will be an early out. We will also have a long-range facility planning committee meeting. Anticipate that will be the final long-range facility planning committee meeting. December 7th, board candidate filing opens. December 15th is our next board.
Not gonna know what to do when you can't file on Christmas Eve.
Entertained motion.
Action for a closed session to immediately precede the regular meeting in December, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Darlene Bailey,
Yes.
Brian Ham,
Yes.
Dan Holloway,
Yes.
John Kern,
Yes.
Bruce Switzer,
Yes.
Susan Morman,
Yes.
Mark Kelly.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.